Today I'm doing a full market breakdown on gold and showing you what I'm expecting the gold market to be doing. Because right now the market hasn't opened already. Still we're waiting for the market to open from the weekend. Then we see if we can get some opportunities in the market. But before that, I want us to look at how the gold market has been behaving from May all the way to this month, and probably what I'm expecting the market to be doing on Monday. So looking at this point, I want us to do our analysis probably from maybe we'll start our analysis today from the daily time frame. Then again, we look at the DXY, look at the some other pairs like the GBP USD and the Euro USD, because we did take some pairs, we did take some trades on those, and we'll see how they went. So right now, this is what is happening at the market right now. This the gold market. You can see from May, the market has been on a downtrend. April, the market was on an uptrend. At this point, you see we had these bullish moves all the way to this area. Then we saw the market coming to this area and rejecting around these strong resistance that we have at this point. Maybe this resistance was all the way from the bigger time frames, that's the monthly and the yearly time frame. Then we see the market rejected around this area. Then it gave us this bearish move that is happening at this point. You see from May, this market has been pushing downwards, and still right now it's still on a downtrend. So I want us to look at some of the structures the market is giving us at this point, and probably you might be looking for them when looking at the charts alone. So if you can look at this market right now, it's giving us these lower lows and lower highs at this point. We see we have this lower high at this point, lower low, low. So probably again we have a lower high at this point. So probably again I'm expecting the market probably to give us another lower high at this point before it pushes all the way down to give us another lower low all the way down there. So, and again, if you look at this market again, this reversal pattern that we're having at this point, because if you look at it from the daily time frame at this point, we have this head at this point, then we have the right shoulder at this left shoulder at this point, then we have the right shoulder at this point. So probably this is giving us a head and shoulder at this point. And again, you see the way this market is approaching this area down here. This is where we have our neckline. If I may retain my structures at this point, let me just return the structures that are drawn from the previous. So if I may return my structures at this point, you see these are some of the key areas that I was looking at. Because you see down here, we have this strong support whereby we see this market respecting it. It came all the way down here. Then we saw this market giving us this kind of rejections at this point. And if you look at these rejections from this point, I look at it as a reversal. I look at it as a continuation pattern probably to the downside, because this, to me, the way I'm looking at it, it's a correction after this market giving us this big impulse move probably. The only time that probably I might have a different bias if this market breaks above this zone that we have at this point. So if this market comes and breaks above this zone that we have at this point, then probably I'll start looking for long-term buys all the way to this area, and probably see how it will be reacting around this area, because if it does break above this area, we'll expect it to continue pushing up further. But for now still my long-term bias is bearish. The market, I'm still looking at the market in a bearish way, but that doesn't mean that you can't take opportunities, buy opportunities in the market, because you know gold moves crazy. It's like it gives you a lot of pips in a day. So probably you might target 100 pips probably if you want to scalp gold or day trade gold. You can find some opportunities at the moment. So looking at it at this point, this market is giving us this. We have this head and shoulder at this point. We have this head and shoulder that it has given us at this point. Left shoulder at that point, head at that point. Then we have the right shoulder at this point. Then we see we have this neckline down here. And I've told you the way this market is approaching this neckline down here, I'm looking at it as a correction, because you can see from the previous month, from May, we had this big impulse move all the way down here. Then we saw this market consolidating around this area, which was a correction. Then we saw this market after consolidating around this area, you see, again, the NFP came and gave us this big bearish momentum at this point. pushing the market all the way to this neckline down here, whereby we see the market failed to break below this area, and we see the market reacting around this area. So this is just a correction that we're having. And again, last week we didn't have so much opportunities in the gold market. We didn't take so much opportunities because last week we had so many economic data that was coming out, so which means we didn't take that because as a technical analysis or as a price action trader, you normally must try to avoid this kind of economic data sometimes because they normally don't respect the kind of setup that you may be having, and even if they may respect it, it might be a little bit too risky for you to go in. So sometimes if you see these kind of opportunities during the economic data, it's better to stay out, and that's what probably we did last week because we didn't take so much entries on gold last week. But again, we did take some entries in my free Telegram community. I did give out some entries on Euro USD, on Euro AUD, which didn't end up good. We took some losses on those entries that I gave out on them. That was about negative 40 pips, but it's still okay because when gold comes back, we're still gonna recover all that we did, all the losses that we did have last week. So probably last week we lost about 80 pips. That was about 70 pips. That's from Euro AUD alone. So probably this week I'll be only looking for gold. I'll be only looking for the gold market. So that's why I want us to understand what the market will be doing, because I know there's so much opportunities in this gold market that we should be taking advantage of from next week probably. So looking at this market, I've told you that it was giving us this left shoulder at this point. We have this head and shoulder that we're having at this point, whereby this is our left shoulder, then we have our right shoulder at this point. Then what was happening at this point is we had this big impulse move from the economic data that came out on Friday, the beginning of this month, which gave us this big bearish momentum at this point. So right now what we're having is this correction, and I want us to go down to the smaller time frame, like the 4-hour time frame, and look how this correction is behaving. So we see we've been having these impulse moves all the way from this point. Then we had another impulse move at that point. So what we're having down here is a correction. We're having this correction at this point, whereby you see whereby I'm expecting this is my key area that I'm looking for at this point, because again, you see we had a fair value gap from this point. We have a fair value gap that the market hasn't filled, so probably there's a possibility of this market coming all the way up here and again to fill those regions before probably continue to push to the downside. Another reason why I'm expecting the market to come all the way up to this area is because you see this area that I have at this point, using my Fibonacci tool, this area that I have at this point, this is a 6078 area that is at this point. So probably if the market does come all the way to this area, that means that we'll be having a very good opportunity for us probably to take our entries from all the way up here, then targeting having our targets at the key areas that we're having in this market already at the moment. So last week we did catch a few entries on this gold market. We had about 2 entries whereby we took about 320 pips from the market. So which means for the loss that we had from the Euro AUD, still it was covered from the gold market, because at least the gold market gave us more than 300 pips the same week. And again, this is on Friday. This is how I was looking at the market on Friday, because if we go to the smaller time frame, like let's see the 1 hour time frame, you see we were having this impulse move all the way from down here. We had that small impulse move at that point. We had a correction. We had a small impulse move at that point. We had this correction. Then we saw news coming out. This was FOMC. FOMC came out at this point and gave us this big bullish momentum at this point. This market closing above this area with this bullish engulfing candlestick at this point. Then after that, we saw the market giving us this correction. Then again, we saw the market breaking above this correction area at this point. Then, so probably on Friday, I was expecting the market to continue pushing all the way to this area, whereby you see the market went up a little bit, moved to a direction about, let's see, moved to a direction about moved about 199 pips towards our direction, but still I'm still expecting the market to continue pushing all the way to this area, because you can see at this point it did respect this area that I was looking at this point. So at this point it's giving us these higher highs and higher lows at this point, because you see we broke above this immediate high that we had at this point. Then after breaking above this immediate high, so this became our support at this point. And you see the market, after breaking above this support area at this point, it came back again and respected this area, and you can see it's pushing all the way up. So probably there's a possibility of this market continue to push all the way to this area before probably giving us that downward move probably to this area. So this is what I'll be looking for on Monday. So this is what I'll be looking for on Monday, probably if the market does give me this kind of structures, which means I'll be having nice entries to take, at least to go in for maybe a few short-term sales before the market gives us that big impulse move that we're looking for. So probably on Monday, if the market does give us this kind of structure, so I'll be just waiting for the market to see if it will go up to this area. Then maybe I'll go in for my buy, my sell entry from this point. And again, I've told you that this is a 61.78 area that I'll be looking at this point. So which means at this point, if the market comes to this area, this is a 50.61 area at this point. So probably it's a very, very crucial area when it comes to trading the gold market. So I'll be expecting that to be happening, and if it doesn't happen, which means I won't have any entry at that point. And again, you can see at this point we had this first touch, at this point we had a second touch, at this point then probably there's a possibility of this market coming to give us a third touch before we continue pushing to the downside. But it won't be, it will be a little bit slow, because during the corrections, during the correction phases, the market normally moves very slow, the way you're seeing it's moving at this point. So that's why we're taking this kind of short-term entries again. And again, the reason why I'm bearish on this market, I want us to go and look at the DXY, because normally when I'm trading gold, I normally want to understand what the DXY has been doing and what it's doing. So probably let's go and look at the DXY and try to understand what the DXY is doing on the other side. So looking at the DXY from the daily time frame, this is how the DXY is looking from the daily time frame. You see the DXY from the daily time frame, it's on an uptrend. You see, all the way from January, the DXY has been on an uptrend, giving us these higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows at this point. So probably you see this market has been on an uptrend all the way from January up to this point. And again, you can see at this point it has been giving us this impulse move correction. We had this impulse move, then we had that correction. And right now from the daily time frame and even from the bigger time frames, you've seen this market has broken above this correction that we had at this point. It broke above this correction that we had at this point, came down again, gave us the retest, which we look at from the smaller time frame. Then after giving us a retest, you see this market is continuing pushing to the up. So there's a possibility of there's a possibility of this market going all the way to this area to test this resistance that we have at this point, because we have a very strong resistance at this point. So if we should be looking for it, how it will be reacting around this area. So if it comes all the way up here, which means on the other side, we'll be selling the gold. We'll be selling gold and GBP USD, Euro USD, all those pairs, which means we'll be going in for short positions on those pairs. So let me go to the daily, the 4-hour time frame, and show you how I'm looking at the DXY. I've told you from the bigger time frame, which is the daily time frame, we see the market has been giving us this impulse correction, and right now you've seen we've broken above this correction area at this point. But again, we need to have at least a few confluences before saying that this market will continue pushing to a direction probably. So from the 4-hour time frame, this is what is happening at the 4-hour time frame. So at this 4-hour time frame, we had an inverse head and shoulder, whereby we saw this market came and give us this left shoulder at this point. We have that left shoulder at that point, went up a little bit, we came down again, gave us the head down here, then went up a little bit, came down again, respected this right shoulder at this point. Then we saw after respecting this area, we're pushing all the way up. Then we've seen from the bigger time frame again, from the 4-hour time frame, you see this market has already broken above this neckline that we had at this point. So this was the neckline that we were looking for, or let me just use the trend line to show you the neckline that I'm talking about. So we had this neckline at this point, we had this neckline, and you can see this market has already broken above this neckline, so which means there's a possibility of it continue pushing to the upwards. But again, I'm expecting something like this because it has already broken above this higher high that it had already created at this point, which means that is a change of structure at this point, because we've seen it's broken above this higher high that we had at this point. So probably it might come down again to give us this third touch at this trend line that we have at this point, because from the 4-hour again we have this trend line at this point. So probably it might come down again to this area, to give us a third touch before we continue pushing to the upwards again. So that's how, if this happens again, which means the gold market on the other side will be behaving exactly how we're expecting it to play, because if the DXY gives us this kind of structure that we're looking for, so probably we'll be in a good position maybe to continue getting more opportunities in the gold market and also in the GBP and the Euro USD market. So that's how I'm looking at this. That's how I'm looking at this DXY and the gold market. And again, I want us to look again. So from the 1-hour time frame, this is what I've been looking at. And you see, last week I did a market breakdown on this, and I told you guys, normally whenever you see a market giving you this kind of gaps, this is what we call a gap at this point. There's this gap that we're having at this point from the 1-hour time frame. Normally when you see the market giving you this kind of gaps, the market has to close these gaps before it continues pushing to whatever direction that it was moving to. You see, at this point when I did a market analysis on this video, on this pair, I was looking at the market was at this point. Then I told you guys that I'm expecting this DXY to push down at least to close this gap that we're having at this point before it continue pushing to the downside. And that's exactly what we saw the market did. We saw the market gave us this big bearish momentum at this point. After we had some economic data, we had this big bearish momentum at this point, pushed down. The market closed this gap that we're having at that point. Then after that, now it's respected all these setups that we are looking at this point, then started pushing all the way upwards. So probably again, what might be happening after we had this big impulse move all the way from down here, so probably what is happening on this point is a correction. So probably we're having a correction from this DXY. We might be having something like this. Before the market again breaks above that area and continues pushing to the upwards again. So probably it might give us something like this again before it continue pushing to the upwards. So if it does that, which means on the other side, at least the gold market will give us the kind of structures that we are looking for. Because again, I told you, if you are trading the gold market, you should always be looking for the DXY and try to understand what the dollar is doing, because it affects the gold market directly. So that's how I've been looking at the DXY, and that's what I'm expecting to be happening again. And again, I did take some entries on GBP USD. We did take some entries on GBP USD because during the previous week, before last week, we were expecting the GBP USD to continue pushing to the downside a little bit. So I did take my entry at this point, but the market didn't respect these ones, because we see at this point the market was still in this kind of consolidation that we're having at this point. So still this market is in this consolidation that we are having at this point. So we are on this consolidation at this point. So probably we see, even though the market went to a direction, but still played along this area for quite some time. So which means I didn't take any entries at that point. So probably I'm waiting to see if the market will be respecting these kind of structures at this point. So because after we had this big impulse move again from this point, we expect it to go up a little bit again and give us maybe give us a confirmation for us to go in for sell entries. Then if we do take our sell entries from this point, probably we'll be targeting all the way down here. If we take our sell entry from that point, this will be our target all the way down here, because which means the market will be done with that uptrend and we'll be looking for some new structures in the market. And yeah, so that's how I'm looking at it, because again, you've seen we had this big channel at this point, we had this big uptrend at this point whereby the market was going up. Then after that, we see the market breaking below this uptrend. Then after breaking up above this uptrend, at least we expect it to give us a correction from this point. We expect it, maybe probably on Monday it might go down a little bit. Then we should expect to have a correction. Then after having now a correction, we'll use the 50-61 area, or we'll just use the Fibonacci to try to measure the retracement that the market might be giving us, and probably see if we can catch some entries on the GBP USD and maybe and the GBP USD. So that's how I'm looking at it. Make sure for the gold market and all the other analysis, I'll be sharing those to my free Telegram channel. Make sure you join my free Telegram channel if you want to be catching these entries with us, guys. So because probably I normally give out these, sometimes I do give out signals to my free Telegram community, because I want you guys to eat with me. So I'll be sharing whenever I see high probability setups on the gold market. I'll be sharing them with you guys, and we try to see if the market will be doing what we're looking for. So that's how I'm looking at it. So make sure you go check out my links in my bio, and this is Profit and Edge signing out. See you in the next video again. So thank you for watching, guys.